Here's what the Democrats are busy with. MSNBC, Jim Vandehei on the rising Democratic MAGA movement.
Jim Vandehei. So, Jim, we kind of walked right into your column. Let's read from it. It's titled The Rising Democratic MAGA Movement. You write, Democrats needing, quote, their own version of a populist, anti-establishment, MAGA-like makeover. So what does that look like, Jim?
Yeah, it looks like what you were just talking about with Gavin Newsom, right? Trying to adopt a lot of the techniques that you saw from Trump, that you've seen from MAGA. Get on social media, be a warrior, curse a lot, try to have a lot of edge, insert yourself into the news cycle. I think the bigger part, though, is what you're seeing happening in New York, what you've seen happen in Minneapolis, the popularity of Bernie Sanders, the number of people turning out for AOC events, that right now the momentum in the party is very much for the very progressive wing of the Democratic Party, which is not that much of a shock, but I think is probably problematic in the off-year elections for Democrats. It's just not where...
Guys, please look away at the only motion within the Democratic Party, the most popular Democrats. Look away from them. Do not go in that direction. It's very bad. It's the worst, actually. Why? Because I said so. Because I said so. It's really bad. It's going to be really bad, okay? What's really good is what the Democrats have done so far, which is hug and kiss the Republicans, okay? That's really good. Even though it failed, and it continues to fail over and over again, do not do the thing that is succeeding, because that's scary. Why? Because I'm a rich guy, and I am afraid of it, and therefore you should be too. Politics is about putting forward the most corporate-backed candidate that is an empty, hollowed-out suit, a husk, a person with no real interest in making things better for others, okay? That's what politics is about. The more annoying and neoliberal your candidate is, the more adult you are, the braver you are, the smarter you are, because obviously that is what is supposed to happen. What do you mean? What do you mean? You're supposed to have adults in the room, right? That's the attitude, right?
The vast majority of the country seems to be. I think it's one of the reasons that the Democratic brand overall is low.
An insane take. Apparently, the energy and popularity of Mamdani and Bernie is a problem for the Dems, and meanwhile, their low approval ratings have nothing to do with the clear unpopularity and fecklessness of establishment leaders like Schumer, Jeffries. Sorry, what? Can you imagine if, like, liberal instruments of the media were actually actively pushing for more progressive candidates? Just think for a moment, like, what that would do. Because your grandparents and your parents, Gen X boomers, okay, older millennials, older fail-ennials, they all get their notes from these organs still. Many of them have moved on. Many of them have actually started, looking at the internet as well, luckily. Okay? They get their notes from independent news outlets as well. They have a more diverse media diet, I would say, even though there are some shortcomings on that front too, as we all know. But having said that, there are still a lot of power players with institutional power that get their notes from the New York Times and get their notes from MSNBC. Their numbers are dwindling, but it doesn't matter. And if those guys are constantly communicating to the older generations that this different method is actually dangerous, some of them, unfortunately, are silly enough to believe that. But make no mistake, those people will fall in line. That's the reality. Those people will always fall in line. This is something that I have explained over and over again. If you think that the party loyalists that wanted, for example, for Joe Biden to stay in the race were not going to vote for Kamala Harris, you're delusional. They would vote for anyone with a D next to it, okay? They're not voting for Joe Biden because Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris is presenting like an alternative that they really enjoy. They're voting because they're harm reduction voters who believe in harm reduction, who understand that, like, the Democratic Party is, at least on some issues, marginally better than the Republicans. That's why they're voting for the Democrats. Those guys are going to vote for Bernie Sanders. They're never not going to vote for Bernie Sanders. Okay? That's it. It's ridiculous to assume that, like, consistent blue no matter who voters are going to fucking turn around and be like, well, I really hate the the progressive guy that is, hold on, advocating for the same things that other candidates that I voted for also advocated for. Why would I not vote for this person? Like, Zohran Mamdani is a great example of this because, like, yeah, he's a socialist, and that's a good thing. But, like, his advocacy in the mayoral race is not about, like, seizing the means of production. His advocacy in the mayoral race and the limited confines of, like, what that office and the power that office holds revolves around, like, free buses, fast and free buses, you know, trying to fix the fucking housing market crisis, freezing the rent. Those are not radical propositions. It's only a radical proposition if your brain is distorted from endless amounts of propaganda from both right-wing outlets and also liberal outlets alike. Again, Obama's very own foreign policy guy, Ben Rhodes, chirping quite a bit about Israel and the Democratic Party's inability to sever ties with Israel, even though it's dead weight. I feel like we are doomed to consistently relitigate the same exact problems. They just don't give a fuck. The Dems just don't care about fixing any of these goddamn issues. Perhaps refusing to endorse a Democratic nominee for mayor who has inspired new people to get into politics in the country is the biggest city where you also live in is a clue for a broader problem. Just one idea. This is an article from the Rolling Stones that says Dems are struggling to register voters and raise money. Everyone is ringing the alarm bells about the Democrats, as I have as well. Okay? I'm not Mr. Electoralism, but I've told you over and over again, voting is still very important, especially for local office, ballot measures, and the like. Okay? It's the most consequential, least impactful thing that you can do. There's never been a moment where you catch me saying, don't vote. Contrary to what all my fucking idiotic haters routinely lie to their audiences about. If only they had actually come here once and listened to me instead of seeing it from a negative framework, and just outright lies, they would know that. So it's the bare minimum, but it's still consequential. Now, I have warned about what I suspect could potentially happen during the midterms, if there are even fucking midterms at all. Okay? And one of the things that I see is the Democrats' inability to even actively put up any fight whatsoever against the Trump administration is causing a lot of enmity against the Democrats. I have warned that the Democrats think not doing anything is going to secure them a comfortable, narrow victory in the midterms if they happen at all. This is not the case. They believe that, okay? They believe that, but there is no guarantee that they're going to actually secure a marginal victory at all. Because what they've done since the election defeat has basically been to do the exact same shit that they've been doing. Their inability to address Republican issues and Republican messaging caused them to lose the election to an incompetent, monstrous, fascist piece of shit for the second time. This time after he had done January 6th, okay? And they're not doing anything. They're not showing a strong, unified, popular front. They think, oh, well, we're not the Republicans, and then that will carry us across the finish line. It won't. They're not registering voters. They're not fundraising. Everybody fucking hates them. Everybody hates them for this reason, okay? And yeah, by the way, ironically enough, in a conversation that I had with AOC, I very deliberately spelled out that, yes, Trump's actions did cause October 7. This is true. Trump's actions were directly responsible for October 7, the Abraham Accords. Joe Biden's inability to address those actions and maybe dial it back a little bit and change the trajectory of American foreign policy in the region instead of allowing Israel to fucking run rampant was also another factor.